Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, A Monk in Cloud. A Monk in Cloud is a community where we discuss about cloud and DevOps. Okay, in the last few videos, we have been trying to build this serverless web application on AWS, and we have completed the integration of Route 53 with CloudFront. Right. So the now task is to create the DynamoDB table and map with the Lambda. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a DynamoDB table and make sure to create an IAM role for this Lambda function to give permission to access this DynamoDB table, right? So first, let us go ahead and create the DynamoDB table first. Okay, I'll go to my AWS management console. I'll select DynamoDB and I'll click on create table. And I'll provide this name, which is serverless web application on AWS, and partition key, I'll give ID as the partition key, and rest of the things I'll keep that as default, and I'll click on create table. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do is, as I told you, this is a static web application and we are going with the serverless web application. For that, what I'm doing is, if you see here, we have views as a counter here. So basically, whenever a person comes and visits this particular site, the view counter should increase. For example, let's say now the view is 1. If a person comes and refreshes, it should go to 2, 3, like that. Right, for that it should go with a without having any servers. For that, I'm going to use a DynamoDB table in our AWS. Okay, so now if I just click on refresh, right, so you won't see anything, right? So this is our web application that we developed in the last video, right? So now let us enhance this web application by adding views and integrate it with the Lambda function. So whenever this particular URL is fetched, then the view counter will increase, right? So for that, we need a Lambda function to be there. So now let me go to DynamoDB table here. If you see here, the DynamoDB table is created. Okay, now let's explore the tables here. If you see here, we don't have the table. Okay, let me click on create item, and I'll say ID is our partition key. I'll just give that as 0, and I'll say add new attribute, and I'll give number, and I'll say views, right? So because that is what we are trying to do. Now let's the view count, the value, let it be 1 first. Okay, now I'll click on create item. If you see here, the item has been created now. The next thing that I need to do is to create an IAM role, as I already mentioned, and give access to the Lambda function. We have not created the Lambda function yet, but we are fulfilling the prerequisite, that is to create an IAM role. Okay, so now let me create an IAM role. I'll just open up IAM management console. Okay, now let me go to roles, and I'll just click on create role, and I'll select AWS service, and I'll click on Lambda because we are creating a role for Lambda, and I'll say DynamoDB. Okay, so here if you see, we get DynamoDB full access, which is not recommended, by the way. You should give only the access that is required, but to keep it simple, I'm giving full access. Okay, I'll hit next, and role name, I'll give this serverless web application on AWS as the name, and I'll come all the way down. I'll click on create role. Okay, now if you see here, the role has been created. Let me view the role. So this is what we have. And if you go to the trust relationship, STS assume role is given for the Lambda functions. Okay, and we have DynamoDB full access. Okay, so this is what we require. So now the DynamoDB setup is done, and the IAM role which is required for the Lambda function is also done. In the next video, what we are going to do is we are going to create a Lambda function, and we are going to code the Lambda function, and I'll try to explain what we are trying to do there. Later on, we'll integrate it with the website. So after that, you will be seeing whenever I hit refresh on this website, the view count will start increasing, right? So that is what we are going to do in the next couple of videos. So hold on till then. I hope you are liking the content that I'm creating. If you are liking, please consider subscribing and share it among your friends. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.